911, what's your emergency? The South Sudanese economy. Hi, and welcome to South Sudan. Today we are going to be talking about the major economic crisis in South Sudan. South Sudan is the world's newest country, and it became the world's newest country in Africa on July 9th, 2011. According to the World Bank, South Sudan is the most oil-dependent country in the world. It is a totality of exports, and it takes up 60% of the South Sudan's GDP. The GDP per capita is less than $200 compared to almost $60,000 in the U.S. Monetizing the fiscal deficit of the country led to money growth and high inflation. The fiscal deficit is projected at about 4.4% of the GDP due to falling government revenues and rising security-related spending. As you can see in this graph, commitments by fiscal year in South Sudan have drastically become higher in 2019 than in previous years. Year-on-year annual CPI has increased 88.5% between June 2017 and June 2018. South Sudan is trying to create a new peace agreement that will help them have a fresh opportunity of building peace in their country and a civil society. The main challenge is to ensure that all economic parties remain committed to implement this new agreement. The government will also need to control their economic crisis, improve food production, boost employment, build infrastructure, and diversify the economy, along with many others.
We will now be giving a basic macroeconomic overview of South Sudan. The three macroeconomic goals are low unemployment, stable prices, and economic growth. According to our research, South Sudan does not meet any of these goals. The first macroeconomic goal is low unemployment. According to Trading Economics, South Sudan's unemployment rate is 11.5% as of 2019. The natural unemployment rate is between 4.5% and 5%. Therefore, South Sudan has an unsafe unemployment rate. The second macroeconomic goal is stable prices. According to the CIA, South Sudan's inflation peaked at over 800% per year in October 2016, but dropped to 118% in 2017. According to Trading Economics, earlier this year, their inflation was at 76%, but right now it is currently at 56%. Considering that the inflation rate that countries should aim for is around 2%, this is extremely high. Although it is not as bad as the 800% in October 2016, which was the most extreme case of hyperinflation in the country. The final macroeconomic goal is economic growth. We are measuring this using GDP. According to Trading Economics, the GDP growth rate in South Sudan is currently at negative 6.3%, and that means they are not exhibiting growth. Their GDP growth rate reached an all-time low of negative 46.1% in 2012 and an all-time high at 15.9% in 2014, but the GDP growth rate has been in the negative since 2014. As illustrated by this graph, the GDP growth rate in South Sudan has fluctuated over the years. It is rarely in the positives and is usually in the negatives. The fluctuations shown in this graph help to further demonstrate the instability of South Sudan's economy. To put it simply, South Sudan is currently in a macroeconomic crisis.
One of the most major issues in South Sudan currently is the hyperinflation. In March of 2019, South Sudan's inflation rates were recorded at 56.1% according to Trading Economics. South Sudan's inflation is extremely high compared to first world countries that are doing well economically, such as the US and Australia, with inflation rates around 2%. As previously stated, the highest inflation rates ever recorded in South Sudan was 835.7% in October of 2016. South Sudan's inflation rates have been extremely high for as long as it has been an independent country. So 56% is relatively low compared to what it has been in the past, but it is still considered hyperinflation. As shown by this graph by Trading Economics, inflation rates have decreased but are still extremely high. They have fluctuated over the years, which again demonstrates this instability. Now, how did this hyperinflation occur? The economic situation in South Sudan is so bad because of the struggles the country had to undergo in order to recover from the civil war that they had in 2013. They were coupled with years of economic mismanagement due to the previous civil war. Years of conflict have eroded the productivity capacity of this country.
For this problem, we can offer a solution. One way that extreme hyperinflation has been solved in the past is by changing the country's currency. This can be seen through one of the most extreme cases of hyperinflation, which happened in Hungary in 1946. Changing a country's currency helps hyperinflation because at this point in time, citizens of the country no longer want to use the currency because they have lost trust in it. Also, with how bad South Sudan's hyperinflation has been, any attempt at redeeming it with contractionary monetary or fiscal policy would fail or take too long to help the country in a significant way. Because as stated previously, South Sudan's economy and the people themselves are not doing well. Therefore, our solution is to change South Sudan's currency from the South Sudanese pound to the US dollar. This is because the US government is the leading international donor to South Sudan in terms of humanitarian and developmental aid. This is according to the US Department of State. Also, with how bad South Sudan's inflation has been, any attempt at redeeming it with contractionary monetary or fiscal policy would fail or take too long to help the Sudanese people in a significant way.
Overall, I feel my research gave good background information on South Sudan's economy. However, I feel I could have dug deeper into the causes of the economic problems that South Sudan is facing, such as the peace agreement that they are trying to ensue upon themselves. Also, another strength that was good within my research was that I found reliable sources that gave good and important statistics on South Sudan's economy.
I felt that my investigation was satisfactory. A strength of my research was that I was able to find reliable information about the statistics of the macroeconomics of South Sudan. A limitation of my investigation was that I was not able to find the statistics for the current month of the year, so I had to look at previous months, still from the same year, but not perfectly current. In order to improve this limitation, I could have done further research and looked at more sources to try to find more accurate information.
There were benefits to my research, such as I was able to find information on the reasons why hyperinflation exists in South Sudan and statistics regarding how the economy was affected. There were also detriments in finding information regarding the issue, such as there are many economic issues in South Sudan going on right now, so it was difficult finding information regarding just one specific issue.
Overall, I feel like I could have been more specific with my research and gone a little more in depth about our reasoning behind our solution. However, I feel as though our solution to South Sudan's hyperinflation would be successful if implemented in the real world.